All right, we live. Y'all come on in. Come on in, y'all. Listen. Welcome, welcome, welcome. Thank y'all for tuning in. I see y'all coming in. Thank y'all so much. Come on. Come on in. Give you like a minute or two when we gonna get started. I do own the rights to this music, but Facebook don't care because they'll mute me anyway. So I'm gonna say I don't own the rights to this music, just so they won't mute me. I see y'all coming in. Thank y'all for tuning in. Let me know where y'all at. Where y'all at? Of course, y'all know I'm in Houston, Texas. Acres home. Thank y'all so much for tuning in. I'm finna go ahead and get this thing started. How y'all doing? Let y'all comment so I can see where y'all at, who you are. Welcome to the Self-Love Journey, Conversations with Shei Atkins, where it's just a non-judgmental place where we learn to have a healthy relationship with ourselves, talking to people from all walks of life and hopes to encourage and inspire those watching. So thank you so much for tuning in tonight's show. I got my purple on for domestic violence, those in domestic violence situations and who just need to hear a word tonight, to hear some encouragement on tonight. Um, the first thing I want to do is bring in Mr. Dray Tate, who's gonna just encourage our souls with a song. I'm gonna talk to him for a little bit, and then we're gonna talk to two young ladies who will be sharing their stories on tonight. But I'm gonna bring in Mr. Dray Tate. How you doing?
Hey, my girl, what's going on? I'm doing
I see
everything
you
is
fly
good
with
over
your
here.
shades on. You looking fly with your shades on. They not ready for you.
Well, thank you.
Now,
Okay.
y'all, me and Drake, we've been friends on Facebook. I don't know how long, but it was something about last year during the time of George Floyd when I was actually able to know that you could sing. I don't know if he was promote. I don't know if it was a
Okay.
flyer or what. Yeah, because I was caught up in my own little world. And so I was
Mm,
able to see your posts about you singing there. And then during the
okay.
funeral, I saw you and I was like, this man has a nice voice. And then
Thank you.
I started seeing posts about you singing with the Williams brothers.
Mm-hmm.
What
Right.
where I been? Like what? How did that happen?
Well, started out about I've been with the brothers now for 20 years. Uh,
Oh, I'm real
but that's
behind.
the thing. I'm right here out of Houston, and but I was with the Williams Brothers 10 years, and I was just singing background. Matter of fact, a lot of people don't know I was the Williams Brothers guitar player for a little while back in the '90s, late
What?
'90s, and
So you play guitar?
now they called me back. Yeah, I played about five different instruments.
Come on, Lord.
Yeah,
That's all right.
been doing that for over for. I've been the music. I've been playing music now. Thank God for about 40 years.
Come on, Lord.
Yeah, about
Now
40
with the
years now.
situation with
Hmm.
George Floyd, did you do the Change Gonna Come remix for that situation, or it just kind of like
I did.
perfect time? Really?
Yeah, I did. I put Change Gonna Come out in January of 2020. And I didn't put it out for no accolades and nothing. It's just a song that I always loved and I wanted to do since I was a little boy. being I was a geek when it come down to civil rights and movements and the Malcolm X stories and the Martin Luther King stories and the Medgar Evers stories. And that song was like it was very it was needed in that time. And I don't know, just the soul that Sam Cooke sung it with, it just got to me as a little kid. I'd never forget tears coming down my eyes the first time I heard it, because it got to my soul, you know, and it's kind of like I can feel pain in the song. So it's just something I always wanted to do. And I put it out in January. And after George passed away, Melvin Williams, which is my goddad, he called me and say, man, why don't you do a remix to the song? That's called Byron. We call him Talkbox. Everybody know him mostly for the 24 Karat track with Bruno Mars. But me and Byron been friends for, man, almost 30 years. But we called Byron, and the rest is history. In about 3 days, we put that whole song and video together in 3 days, and we premiered it at George Floyd's service.
Wow, and it was beautiful. That song touched my heart. And when I put this show together tonight, you came to my spirit, because somebody need to change on the night. And we need change right now in the season. It's a lot going on. So I know that it's really going to bless a lot of people's hearts on tonight. And I'm just finna get out the way and let you do your thing and bless our heart. So I'm finna mute me.
Maximum volume.
I was born by the river in a little tent. Whoa, just like a river I've been running ever since. It's been a long time coming, but I know change gonna come. Oh, yes, it will. It's been too hard living. Yeah. I'm not afraid to die, because I know what's up there beyond the sky. It's been a long time coming, but I know change gonna come. Oh, yes, it will. Now listen. But then I go to my brother, and I say, brother, help me please. But he winds up knocking me back down on my knees. Oh, there were times when I thought that I wouldn't last for long, no. But now I think I'm able to carry on. It's been a long time coming, but I know, hey, a change gonna come. Oh, yes, it will. I know, a change is gonna come. Yes, it will. Yes, it will. I believe that a change is gonna come. Oh, yes, it will. Said, I know, no. A change is coming, yes. I know a change gonna come. Yes, it will. Yeah. Ooh. That's him.
That was so beautiful. Oh my God. I was holding back the tears, trying not to
Appreciate it.
cry. That touched my heart. Thank you
That's
so
all
much.
right.
Y'all, if y'all want to bless
Thank
him,
you.
there's his Cash App down there, and the song is available on all digital platforms. So y'all go
Right.
get it. And thank you
Right.
so much for
My
coming and
honor.
doing
My
it for
honor.
me. All right, then I'll
That
see
was
you
my
on
honor.
Facebook.
All
All right,
right.
thank you
Y'all
so
be
much.
good.
All right, bye-bye.
All right. Bye-bye.
All right, y'all. That wasn't that beautiful and heart. Wow. So we just gonna go and get into the first guest that I have on tonight. I'm about to bring on Miss Waltrell Michelle. She reached out to me. Let me unmute you. I gotta remember to do that.
Hey.
Hey, reached out to me on Instagram, and she wanted to share her story. And I'm like, girl, talk to me. What's your story? And it's one of a struggle. It's one of domestic violence. It's one where you have to fight for your life. So, what made you just want to reach out and say, you know what, this is the time for me to share my story?
Well, a lot of people don't like sharing their story, and I'm nervous.
That's all right. It's okay. It takes courage to share your story.
And it is time to come out with my story, basically. So
Okay, let's go back to the beginning of how, what even led to, this journey of life after domestic violence.
like after,
Well, what led up to, this journey? Like, how did you even end up in a abusive relationship? What led you to?
okay, so 2013, well, before 2013, I'm gonna say my junior year in high school, I started conversating with this guy. I'm gonna call him the security guard at the gate.
Mhm.
He was a guy that never. He was. I'm gonna just say he was the most sweetest guy I thought, because he was just a guy that I just was sweet.
The security guard at the school that you see every day.
Security guard as far as apartment gate. My mom.
Oh, at the apartments.
Yes. He was he had the most sweetest, I'm gonna just say like the most white smile.
Mm-hmm.
And oh, this is so hard for me, I'm sorry.
Okay. Take your time.
He would do things that I guess other guys wouldn't, do, like take me out and different things like that. And
you say you was in high school, right?
yes.
Okay.
So after that, we got an apartment together. My nanny, God bless her soul.
Mm-hmm.
And sorry.
That's okay. It'll take you back,
And I don't know, like he things just started turning for the worse. He just started being like very combative. He things that he would say that he wouldn't do, or his family wouldn't do, or for him, he would say that his mom wasn't there for him. And my mom treated Shay, I have a phone. Mommy see Shea? I don't know.
Yeah, but he brought it over here because he wanted the staff to do it. He can't have his relative assignments. Oh, so he's going? It's like a reference.
Shay?
Yeah, can you see me?
Yes.
I don't know what happened. That ain't never happened on the show before, but that's all right. Come on, Lord. To God be the glory. I'm back.
Devil, that's the devil. But
Out of 13 shows, this is the first time that ever happened, but things happen. It's technology, but we here. So I'm back. Okay, so you were saying that he started.
So
Did y'all move together or what?
yeah, we did.
Okay.
He would just start talking about like how his family wasn't, there for him, and how his mom and his dad basically didn't raise him, and his grandmother and his grandfather, raised him. So my mom kind of took him in basically. And he had a little girl, and I kind of took her in as well. And it was just something about him and the ex kind of relationship. Like they was talking about getting back together and all that kind of stuff. And, when she would kind of try to reach out to me, and I'm like, I don't, you don't want to hear what the ex have to say. And she was like, yeah, he was abusive to me. But at the time, I don't want to hear that because,
Wow.
we get back together. But Lord and behold, I should have listened.
Wow.
And
now, how old was he, if you don't mind me asking? How much older than you was he?
He was how much older? 27, and I was 18.
Wow.
Yeah.
Okay.
And that much of an age difference. So it was kind of like, yeah, how that goes.
Yeah.
So I remember one day it was, I don't even remember if it was something that I said or whatever, and he threw my head towards the refrigerator and threw me down and kicked me with his steel-toe boots and yes.
Out the blue, just one day.
Yes, it was. I don't even know if it was. My mouth used to get me. I'm gonna say get me in trouble, but that still doesn't, give a person a right to hit you or any kind of way. And it was just like an ongoing. And he would tell me he was sorry, and I just thought that was I just thought that was, I don't know if I thought it was love, maybe, or if it was, I don't even know what I thought it was at that time. It was times when he got me to, lose jobs. Actually, I think my nanny's even watching, and didn't even know when we were arguing and fighting at one time, and I couldn't even go into work because he punched me in my eye, had a lifted lip, my ear, busted my eardrum, punching me all in my ears, throwing knives at me. It was just bad. I'm not gonna lie, I left him twice. Still went back to him.
And what made you go back?
Because he was saying that he was going to hurt my family. I was scared that I was going to lose jobs and stuff like that because of him. But I remember one day telling my dad, I said, if he hit me one more time, I'm gonna leave him. And he told me, he said, if he gotta hit you one more time, then you ain't ready to leave. But I was always saying, I said, you know what? When I'm ready to leave him, I'm gonna be ready. And when I'm ready, I'm ready. Nobody can make me ready, but y'all ain't doing nothing but drawing me closer to this person. And it wasn't, I don't know, I didn't really, I'm not gonna say that I really loved him. I was just scared, that I was just scared for my life, my family, because I remember me trying to get away and he would draw guns at me, kill you and stuff like that. So it was this one specific time when I was tired, and when I did that last time, he did put his hands on me. It was the very last time, and I'll never forget. I text my mom, my dad, and my stepmom in a group message, and I said, you know what? I'm tired of him putting his hands on me. It has to stop. Y'all need to come get me. And they did. My dad did. I didn't think it was going to happen when they were going to come, because, like I said, I had left so many times. When you cry wolf so many times, I ain't got time for this. You did the last time, so are you really ready? But, they did. And I left, and I never looked back when I did. I'm not gonna sit there and say that it was something easy coming, from that, because it was hard to pull away from that cycle.
The cycle of going back and it happened again, and then you leave and go back and it happened again.
Yeah.
How long were y'all together before he actually had those steel-toe boots on and kicked you and all that?
Wait, say that again. I'm sorry.
How long were y'all together before, that first time when he hit you with the boots on? And
it was, I'm gonna say, okay, so it was maybe we were a year in. So it was a year in before that happened. Yeah.
But you had some signs from the ex. And what about him? Did you see anything in him? Because, I think it's important for people to.
Cruelty, I'm gonna say cruelty to animals. That's one sign. Because he was very aggressive with animals.
What was he doing with the animals?
Beating animals. I'm
what
sorry.
Kind of like a dog?
Yes. Very abusive with his words.
Verbally abusive.
Yeah, very hot and cold. Just all over the place. When remember when I was telling you about his parents, when you go off with the way that they treat their mom.
Yeah.
And the way that he used to talk to his mama just was very disrespectful. So it really was. So I should have known when that was happening. And it wasn't that his mom wasn't, he was lying when he said that his mom wasn't in his life. His mom very so much wasn't in his life. It was just a choice that he made to not have his mom in his life. His mom very so much wanted to be in his life, but it's just that he just was acting up and doing things that he was not supposed to do to her. So
that's a sign, if you're watching and somebody disrespectful to their own parent, that's a sign that you ain't no different.
yeah,
They disrespect you too and curse you out too and talk to you crazy too.
yeah,
And so some of the signs to look for is that cruelty, that abuse to those animals, verbal abuse.
yeah.
It only get worse. Wow.
Yeah.
And so after you left, what was life like after that? What was any PTSD?
Well, I suffered with a lot of that. I didn't do nothing but make me, like I told you, I started, becoming me, and being who I wanted to be, and getting into a relationship with women. And how can I put it? I'm trying to say it in the right way. Wanting to be with people, and not as just the gender, just far as being with somebody, and figuring that I had to be with somebody because I felt alone. But I decided that I couldn't be who people wanted me to be. I decided to be who I chose to be. And I think that was one of the issues with him, because he knew that I really didn't want to be with him, male, because he knew that that too. So I got into another relationship, got married. How can I put that? She treated me different when it come down to me getting my self-esteem level back up. But it was kind of the same, but not the abuse. And this is hard too, because she was somebody that I trusted, somebody that when you get married, you make a vow for better or for worse. And she just betrayed all of that.
Wow.
And she chose to be with someone else in the marriage. So I'm not going to sit there and say that I act and then I treated her the way that I should have treated him, so I'm not going to sit there and say that I didn't, I didn't make the situation, worse, because of that. And that's a lot of things that I prayed about, after we, did get a divorce. And I did pray on that. Because I don't know, I was battered, I was bruised, I was hurt, and it's just, I don't know. I did a lot of soul searching, and because I, jumped out of high school, dated, and different things like that, I didn't have a lot of time for me. I was 18. So I dated. After I divorced, I dated. I you can ask my mama, I north, south, east, and west. I dated. I figured out me. I self-loved me. I figured out me, basically. I dated me. Two.
Okay, that's good. Because I always say to me, self-love is having a healthy relationship with yourself. So you were finally able to develop a healthy relationship with yourself.
Yes.
So what are some things you did to heal? Or what
Okay.
did you learn about yourself that you needed to heal?
So I went on dates with me. I prayed a lot. I meditated a lot. It was a lot of things that I know that I blamed other people for, attitudes, or I said that it was them, that I know that it was me.
Wow.
My mama saying, yes, Lord.
Yeah. Yeah. Because mama know her baby,
I don't know, like it's like it's unexplainable. I'm gonna just say, I remember, and I think I told you this, like I remember going to sleep at night, and waking up in the morning and just crying out Jesus' name,
Yeah.
because I know that I needed to heal for me and not for nobody else, and I know that I couldn't get that from nobody else but me.
Yeah.
Not mama, not daddy.
Yeah. Yeah. You called on the name of the Lord.
I was a mess.
It's
And
all right. We all have been a mess.
every day it's still a growing experience. It is.
Yeah.
You learn stuff every day.
Yeah.
You do.
You do.
But positivity always, always positive.
Yeah. But can you please say something to somebody that might be in that situation right now? She needs to hear your word. She needs to hear from somebody who's been where she is right now.
It is not easy. I'm never going to tell you it's easy. But if you are around someone that you can talk to them, tell them you're not alone. I'm sorry.
That's all right. It's love, our love here.
You are loved. God hears you. You are not by yourself. I'm sorry.
You don't have to be. Not over here.
And better days are coming. That is true. And there's always light at the end of the tunnel. And don't give up.
Yeah. Don't give up. That's beautiful. Look at you. You made it. And I think it's important. I don't want nobody to wait to, their life, they about to die before they reach out for help. You know what I'm saying? Because it's a lot of situations that you right there. So we can encourage and help somebody and bless somebody before it gets to that point. It's just the grace of God. Tears are just a release to make room inside for the comforter's peace. That's right. I love you. Shout out to Tamika. You know Tamika?
Yes. This is my colleague.
That's all right. It's good to have support. So I just want to thank you so much
Thank you.
for sharing your story. You are loved. You are strong. You are beautiful. And I'm always here if you ever need somebody to talk to. I know you have a support system, but we here to encourage each other and be here for each other. And I just want to thank you.
Thank you.
God bless you. Ray Sean sent you a, oh, that's so sweet. Ain't nothing like supportive friends. So thank you and God bless you. And I just pray that somebody was blessed and touched by your words. And I'm going to get to the next guest.
Thank you.
Thank you, Miss Waltrell. God bless you.
Bye bye.
Bye bye. Wow, God is good. I'm about to bring in my next and last and not least guest, Miss Tina Scott. How you say it? Skindiva?
Skindiva,
Yes,
yeah.
Tina Skindiva. Yes. God bless you.
Thank you.
I
Thanks
know
for
you
having
got a
me.
story. I'm so happy that you came to share your story. God is good. This is
Yes,
really a deep subject. You know what I'm saying? And I know you know a lot about it. We've all been affected to it by to some degree. And so I just
yes,
want to thank you for coming on to share your story.
yes.
So let's get into your story because I know. Let's talk about it. What's your
Okay.
story, Miss Tina?
Thank you. Well, my story started when I was very young with my mother with domestic violence.
Mm,
I knew from the time that I was in the crib, I could feel that she didn't really love me. And
mm,
so, it progressed and, there were the beatings and the abuse and the verbal abuse. And, so that kind of molded me as a child that I have very low self-esteem. And,
mm.
I say that when you have low self-esteem, it basically sets you up for failure because you're constantly going to be looking for something to fulfill that emptiness. And
Wow.
really only God can fulfill that.
Yeah.
So the abuse was really bad. So as I became a teenager, I turned to drugs and alcohol. And
As
that
a
was like
teen.
at that time I felt like that was like my savior, you
Oh.
know. And I used to get high every single day. I mean, I overdosed one time and God brought me back. And even though I didn't know God then, when I overdosed, I knew it was something supernatural because when I woke up, I was like, I was even shocked. I was like, how didn't I die? Because I went into the convulsions and I was sweating profusely. And
Mm.
but I still after that I still got high.
Really? And what
Um
drugs were you using as a
I
teenager?
started off with marijuana and beer. Like that was my thing, marijuana and beer.
Yeah.
And then I progressed to cocaine.
Yeah.
Not crack, thank God.
Yeah.
But cocaine. And so those were
Wow.
my three drug of choices, and I did them every day.
Wow.
And it was all because of that emptiness that I felt like that, when a child doesn't get their mother's love. That's why I understand when she was saying like he was still letting her know he didn't get that mother's love, that father's
Yeah.
love. So he was already filled with rage.
Yeah.
So it's like when you don't get that love, it's like you either will have rage or you will either be timid and withdrawn.
Wow.
So I was the timid one.
Mm.
So what happened was a series of abusive relationships. Like I said, I've been through everything as far as physical, mental, verbal, emotional, sexual, and even financial abuse with
Mm.
men.
Mm.
And it was almost like a desperation, like I have to have a man to love me to make me feel whole, you know.
Mm.
And something my daughter just said to me, which really stunned me, because she's my daughter, and I'm thinking, well, she shouldn't be saying something like that to me. I should be saying something like that. But my birthday had just passed, so we were talking, and she said, "Mom, I know now why you were so desperate for a man." And I was like, oh, I was desperate because you don't want your child to know
Yeah,
you're
yeah, yeah,
desperate.
yeah, 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 yeah. Right.
So I was like, I was desperate. So she goes, "Mom, I understand." She says, because I have two kids. My son's father, she said, Josh's dad rejected you. She said, and my dad did. And she said, I can't even imagine what that must have felt like. And so she goes, I understand why you were desperate.
Wow.
And I was just crying because I was like, yeah, I really was.
Yeah.
And so what happened was, in my pursuit of looking for that love, that's when I met my daughter's father. And I always say, man, he was, when I first met him, he seemed like, but then, the devil knows what you want. He seemed to me to be everything that I ever wanted. He was romantic. He was a sharp dresser. He used to wear suits every day.
Yeah.
He was funny. Like, we would go on little trips to Staten Island. We would go to carnivals. We would have movie night once a week with the kids. He seemed to be everything I wanted. Like, he would cook, he would clean. Like, I basically didn't have to do anything.
Yeah.
But a year into the relationship, but I never knew that he was a crack addict in the past. Wow. That's why I always tell people it's so important to find out the history of this person you're about to get involved with before you go and have sex with them. Because once you have sex with them, you already open yourself up to them. And you have to find out, what is this person's history? So this man used to go to work every day. He would bring the check home at the end of the week, give me the whole check. So I'm thinking everything is great. Like, I'm like, I hit the jackpot. And a year into the relationship, he got us an apartment. I mean, it wasn't a great apartment, but it was an apartment. I thought everything was fine. He painted a mural on our wall because he was an artist as well. So he did a whole mural. I mean, it was just like incredible. And then about a year into the relationship, he started smoking crack. And I mean, that was like the end of everything. I mean, for anyone who's ever dealt with anyone on crack, I didn't have any experience with that because I was into before I met him, like, I was into the church and I was doing things in the church. So I had no clue what I was in for. It was like the enemy really set me up.
Wow.
So what happened was, he started smoking this crack and he started stealing our stuff. Well, my stuff. Because I had all this expensive jewelry and just things, like I had a sewing machine, and just, he started stealing everything. And I was like, what the heck happened? Like, I was reeling, like trying to figure out, so how it became physical was that when there was basically everything he stole, then he wanted the money. So, I had my son in private school. I really wanted my son to get a great education. And so he was starting to demand the money for his tuition. And I was, I would lie and I would be like, well, I already paid it. But he'd be like, no, you didn't. And if I didn't give him the money, he would beat me up.
Wow.
And so I would give him the money. And my son, he was 6 at the time. He started having issues. He started getting nervous. His eyes would blink. He didn't know how to tie his shoes. It was so severe. And all I could think about is what happened to that man that I met. And I didn't really have anybody that I could go to. At that point, he had basically isolated me. So all of my friends were just gone. It was just me, him, and my son.
Wow.
And what would happen was, there would be periods where he would get off the crack. He would go into, I guess, a form of remission where he would stop and everything would be great. I mean, it would be like it was, and then he would start again. And this went on and on for 6 years.
Wow.
And I would go to work with black eyes. I would hide it with makeup. basically he was so jealous. One time what he did was he would call me when he felt I was supposed to be off of work and on my way home. And he'd be like, where are you? Where are you? And I'm like, I'm coming, like I'm on my way home. And he's like, no, you're late. I know you're meeting with someone. Like he became so paranoid. So it was this one day, it was his birthday. So I was late because I stopped to get a cake. And I was like, yeah, this will really surprise him. And oh my God, he didn't even let me explain anything. As soon as I walked in the door with the cake, he just started punching me. And the cake went everywhere.
That is so
He was
sad.
completely possessed by the devil. It was like he was in a blind rage that he didn't even see I'm walking in with a cake. Like,
Wow.
And then when he's seen after what he did, he would always start crying. Like he could cry like at the drop of a hat. And it was like, it was so traumatizing. And so what happened was when I met him, I was a size 7'8". I ballooned up to a size 22. And I had like black circles under my eyes from all the stress, and like all my hair had fell out. I mean, I was going through such a metamorphosis. And so my son ended up failing out of private school because they told me he can't keep up. So you're gonna have to take him out. And I was completely devastated, and I'll never forget one day I went to his school and one of the teachers was there and she said, can I talk to you? And I said, sure. And I think Josh was like 7 at that time. And she said, listen, she says, I want to tell you, she said, your son comes to school and tells us that that Ronnie is hitting his mommy. And I was just stunned because, I wanted to keep it like a dirty secret. Like nobody has to know, like I still go to work, like as if I really have it together, which I really didn't have it together. And I was just stunned and I didn't even know what to say to her. And she started saying stuff that I didn't even understand at the time, but now I understand it. She said, you have to become whole, and then you will attract someone that will be the right person for you. She was like, you don't deserve this. But me being that young in my 30s, I really didn't really understand it. All I knew is I was in a survival mode. And that's all I knew.
Did you ever try to leave him? Or it didn't cross your mind because you were, desperate and you wanted somebody so bad that...
I actually did want to leave him. I reached out to 2 people because I was desperate, but I was desperate for the Rodney that I met, that first Rodney. I wasn't desperate for the abuser Rodney. I was scared. I was literally scared for my life. So I called my mom and I told her, I said, me and Rodney is fighting a lot. He's hitting me and, my son is witnessing this. And my mom's exact words were, that's the bed you made. You have to lay in it. And she hung up.
Wow.
Yeah.
What did that do to you?
That devastated me. That actually devastated me more than the abuse.
Yeah.
Because I figured that what mother is gonna let her child stay in an abusive relationship.
Wow. And she said, you made that bed.
She said, I made the bed and now have to lay in it.
Wow.
And he could have killed me. Like he could have killed me. And it was like, after that, we didn't talk anymore. And then I called my son's father. And because me and my son's father had been married for 10 years. So he still lived in the apartment that we used to live in together. So I called him and I told him, I says, listen, I says, I have to get out of here. I said, Rodney is going crazy. My daughter's father was over 6'3". He was 260 pounds of pure muscle. I'm scared for my life. And my son's father told me, he said, well, I just got a girlfriend. I just moved her in, so I can't help you.
Wow.
And after that, there was nobody else to try. There was nobody else to go. I don't have any extended family. And that was it. I was trapped.
Mm.
And so for 6 years, I stayed with him. And what made me eventually get out, I mean, and it was brutal. I don't know how I survived. I mean, he would kick me too. One time he wanted the money and I wouldn't give it to him. I'm like, this is for my son's tuition. And so what happened was I would hide the money all around my house. This is how I knew this man had to have the devil in him.
Yeah.
Because no matter where I would hide the money, he would find it.
Mm.
I mean, I hid money in a radiator. I hid money behind a picture frame. No matter where, he would find it. So I realized like I couldn't keep money in the house anymore. So I said, I'm going to call my son's father, because we were on good terms, like we were friends, and ask him to hold the money. And so me and my son went to see him. I gave him the money. I said, this is my son's tuition and my rent money, so I need you to hold this. So he was like, no problem. So when my daughter's father came, he's like, where's the money? So I'm like, I don't have any money. There is no money. He's like, where's the money? So it was like starting this big fight and everything. And next thing I know, like he just started like punching me, and I fell on the floor, and he started kicking me in the stomach. And all I could think about was that my little 6-year-old son is watching this in terror. So I crawled into the closet because I didn't want my son to see that, because I felt ashamed. Like what? How is my son witnessing this? So I crawled into the closet, and he literally kept kicking me in my stomach. Because till today, my son is 31, and he says, Mom, he says, I remember that day when Rodney was kicking you in the closet. Wow, and that like literally breaks my heart, because that shouldn't be a 6-year-old's memory. That should never be any child's memory. And that's what makes me mad, that when children it's like adults, we make these decisions to be with these abusive people. It's not the child's fault. No child wants to see that. And they should not have to be subjected to that. And so he was like, so when he started kicking me in the closet, I was like, all right, I will go get the money. And he's like, where is it? And I was like, Eric has it. And he said, all right, let's go. And I mean, he was like the devil. Wow. He had became very dark. He was like light complexion, but once he started smoking that crack, he became dark, and his face started breaking out. Like he didn't even look good anymore. He just had this dark aura around him. Wow. So I had to call my son's father, and I told him, I says, listen, we're coming for the money. And of course, my son's father didn't want no problems with him, so he was like, fine. And I ended up to give him all the money. And that is what I went through for 6 years, on and off. And then I had my daughter as well. You know what I'm saying? And before I even had my daughter, it was like multiple miscarriages, multiple abortions, which I don't even believe in abortions. Yeah. But I was like, I cannot bring a child into this chaos. Yeah. And I'm still tormented by having those abortions, because I believe that it's murder. Yeah. So, because what does God say? He said, in the womb I formed thee. Yeah. So that means he created us in the womb, not for someone to take us out. Yeah. So it was like, I don't know how I made it. I don't know how I made it. It was only God's grace that helped me to make it.
So what was that last thing that allowed you to get out of this situation? What happened?
Well, what happened was all right, this man was such I don't know what you would call it, I guess a master thief or whatever. He found a way. Okay, so I would go to work, I would bring my kids to the babysitter. he found a way to get in my apartment without a key.
So what you mean,
He
my
used to,
apartment? You moved away?
huh?
What you mean, my apartment? You moved somewhere?
I had finally got out of the apartment that we were in together, and I found another apartment, but of course he followed me there. I was trying to get out to like escape him, but it didn't happen that way, and I'll tell you how. I had been looking for an apartment. I met a landlord. It was a nice apartment, but he kept telling me, I don't know if I want to give you the apartment. He goes, you look like, you look like a party girl. You look too young. He's like, this building is for working people. I told him I'm working. I have 2 kids. I mean, that's all I do. So he was like, well, I don't know. So literally this went back and forth from like maybe 3 weeks, where I kept calling the landlord when my daughter's father wasn't around, saying, are you going to give me the apartment? And he was like, I don't know. I'm still thinking about it. Well, don't you know, I tell you, it was just the devil. The day that the landlord called me and he told me, I am going to give you the apartment, was the day my daughter's father was home. So he's like, who's that? So I'm like, I couldn't lie. I was scared to death. So I was like, no one, that's just the landlord. He's like, what landlord? So I had to tell him, I was like, it's just for an apartment. Because he probably might have thought I was cheating or something. So he was like, oh, good. Okay, so we're going to have a new apartment. And so he followed me to the other apartment. So he knew how to get into the apartment when I wasn't there. He would use like a card and he would put it through the door and the door would open. And so he would steal all up, like I would have my VCRs in there, the TVs, whatever. He would clean it out. Then I would replace it and then he would come and do the same thing again.
Wow.
And so what happened was it was a combination of things that made me hit rock bottom. Right before that happened, I had told him it's over, I'm done, I'm moving on. And I had met this other guy, which I want to say is always a mistake when you're in a domestic violence relationship. You should never start talking to someone else until you're completely away from the abuser. So I went out with this person and I'm thinking, yeah, I'm free. And yeah, right. As long as the abuser knows where you live at, you're never free. So we went out. Oh, it was like amazing date. We just had fun. And then he sent me home in a cab. And as soon as the cab is pulling up, I'm getting like this real ominous feeling, like a real eerie feeling, like something bad was going to happen to me. And so we pull up and I see my daughter's father in front of the building. And I said, oh my God, here we go. So immediately I call the police. So the police come. So he's in the front of my building drinking a can of beer. Because, this is back in the day, you could drink in the street, you could smoke in the street. It was so different back then. So the cops, so I get out of the cab then because I told the cab I don't want to get out until the police show up. So the cab driver was like, okay, fine. So when I see the police show up, that's when I get out. And I'm telling them, this is my daughter's father. He abuses me. Can you please make him leave? The police were like, we cannot do anything because he has not put his hands on you. So I said, so you're going to wait until he puts his hands on me before you do something? And they were like, yes. They were like, that's the law. Wow. And I said, well, your law is screwed up. I said, do you know how many times he's done this? So they were like, I'm sorry, just call us back. And I was like, I could be dead. Like, I mean, I had this very awful feeling. So what happened was they told him to leave right then. They were like, well, can you just leave? Because, it's disturbing her. But I knew he was going to come back. So he was like, yeah, I'll leave. So he left. So I go in my building. My babysitter lived underneath me. So I go get my 2 kids. And then I knocked on my neighbor's door and I said, listen, I have a really bad feeling. I said, can you come in and stay in my apartment with me? I have a really bad feeling with Rodney. So they were like, okay. So my 2 neighbors came in and they brought their 3 little kids. So altogether we had 5 little kids, like under the age of 8. So, yeah. So what happened was, next thing I know, he starts banging on the door like a maniac. And my daughter's father was so strong, many, many times he kicked the door in off the hinges in the other apartment building. And the cops never did anything, never did nothing. So when he started banging on the door, I was like, oh my God. So I went behind the door and I was like, listen, just leave me alone. Like, just go away. He wouldn't go. Next thing I know, the door came off the hinges and it fell on top of me. So he went in my apartment. He thought my neighbor was a man because she had short hair. So he went to go draw back to punch her. And I think that's when he realized it was a female. So that's when he saw me, and then he just like kind of chased me and he threw me down on the floor. He jumped on top of me. And next thing I know, my neighbors just run out and they leave their kids with my kids in the apartment. And I know they were scared because he was a scary person, but I was like, dang, how do you leave your kids? So anyway, so he like straddled me. And he said, and he started choking me. And he said, now I'm going to kill you. Wow. And when I looked in his face, I just seen the devil. I did not see him anymore. I seen the spirit within him. And all I could hear was like all the kids screaming. I mean, they were like just screaming. And I just prayed. I said, God, please do not let him kill me in front of my children. And I heard God's voice. And God told me, tell him that you love him. And I was like, I didn't even think or anything. I was just trying to word it. And I was like, you know, I love you. Like, I couldn't even hardly get it out, but I got it out because, I mean, he was choking me. And it was literally like something out of a movie. As soon as I said that, his hands just like popped off of my neck. And he just looked at me and then he started crying and he said, look what you almost made me do to you. And then he jumped up and he ran out of my apartment. And I was just laying there like I couldn't even get up. And the next thing I know, my neighbors come back with the police. And all the kids are still screaming. And I just told the police, I don't need you now. You can leave. Wow. And so they left. And then my neighbors were like, we're sorry. We were scared. I was like, I understand. I was like, I just need to be alone with my kids. Wow. And I just realized from then, and when he kept finding a way to come in my apartment, one day I was like, I'm just done. And what happened was there was this lady in my neighborhood. I would see her. I never told her my story because I was very private. Like I didn't want anybody to know. But somehow she knew. Every time I would see her, she'd be like, so how's everything going? She'd be like, you know what? You can go to a shelter. And I was like, a shelter? What? I didn't even know any clue about shelters. All I knew is that I worked and I had my own apartment. So every time I would see her, she'd be like, you can go into a shelter. And so one day, it was right after that incident where he almost choked me and he was still able to come in my apartment. I had a mental breakdown. And I said, I cannot do this anymore. And I called the shelter. And it was a shelter in Brooklyn. And the lady told me, she says, well, if you want to come, she said, you're going to have to give up your job and your apartment. She says, and you have to get on welfare. And I was like, I don't think I can do that. I said, I don't want to get on welfare. She says, but you have to so we can help you. Yeah. So I told her, I don't think I can do that. So she said, well, I'm going to give you 24 hours. She said, you think about it and you call me back. She said, if you don't call back, I'm going to give the space to someone else. And literally the whole night, I just wrestled with it and I just prayed and I just cried. I was like, God, what should I do? And then I realized that I had to do that for my kids.
Yeah.
Because I said, if I don't leave, they're never going to have a chance.
Mm.
And so I called her the next day and she said, okay, we're going to send a cab for you. And I'm telling you, it was nothing but God. I was so scared that he would come at any moment.
Yeah, yeah.
You know what I'm saying? And my
Mhm.
adrenaline was racing. I mean, I was just
Yeah.
like, so I just was throwing stuff together. And I was like, we're out of here. So I'm just throwing stuff. And I'm so scared. I'm just like, God, please don't let him come.
Yeah.
And then the cab comes. My daughter was 2 and my son was 9. So the cab comes and I had never lived in Brooklyn, so I wasn't too keen on that, but I came to love Brooklyn. But
Yeah.
so we got in the cab and we went to this shelter, and I'm telling you, it was like the best decision I ever made. Because the shelter, they know when you're coming out of abuse.
Yeah.
It was just incredible. They had like a daycare center there. You got your own apartment. They had a backyard for the kids to play.
Wow.
They literally, the day they gave me the key to the apartment, somebody came and knocked on the door, and he brought like all these sheets and pots and pans and stuff that you like. And I was just like, oh my God. And then the apartment was like huge. It had like a toy chest filled with toys. It had a crib for my daughter. So it was just like, I finally felt like I could breathe again.
Yeah. Wow.
But believe it or not, my daughter's father didn't give up. He went to my job. He was telling my boss, I want to know where she is. I mean, he went to my girlfriend's house, Red. He was like, I know where she, and blah, blah.
He was looking for you.
Yeah, he was. But what I realized is that after that, like when some time went by and I got my apartment and everything, after that, he did come in my daughter's life again, and he would see her whenever he wasn't cracking. But he never abused me again, because I believe by leaving, I made a stand and I showed him, you can't do this to me anymore. And so after that, he never abused me anymore. He got married with someone else and abused her, but it was like he just left me alone after that.
Wow.
Yeah.
There's something there.
And it's crazy because I still think about him. We haven't been together in over 20 years. And I still think about him. I still remember, I still think about the good times, and I still miss who he used to be.
Wow.
Yeah.
Ain't that something? And so where is he now?
He passed away 4 years ago. Yeah, I had just moved to Virginia, and yeah, he had gotten stabbed, and then when they did the surgery, I don't know, they did something wrong. They botched it, and his intestines, like the waist, backed up, and he passed away. But one thing I can say that I'm thankful to God for is that he wasn't really in my daughter's life like he should have been because of the crack. And because of it, she grew up very angry, and she always took out her anger on me. And it was like, I felt like I was going through the abuse again. And, she was so angry because he wasn't in her life. And I thank God, because for the month before he passed, she said, Mommy, I really want to see Daddy. And we didn't even know he had been stabbed or hurt. And so because before that, she didn't even want to see him. She reached out to him. And for that month, he told her because she was working, he told her, bring the boys over every day, her kids over every day. He goes, I want to watch them. And it was before Thanksgiving. He told her, I'm gonna give you and the kids and everybody all Christmas presents, your husband a Christmas present. So Christina was like, what's the rush? She goes, not even Thanksgiving. He was like, I have to do this. Because he knew he was gonna pass. Wow. And he actually passed on Thanksgiving. And so she told me, she said, Mommy, she said, that month that we spent together, that last month, She said, my daddy was the way I always imagined him to be. She said he was like the best father and the best grandfather I could ever ask for.
Wow.
And so she got to experience it and not be angry at her dad and be holding all that rage. And now she's like, I got to see the real him, because for that month he was him. He couldn't do all those things anymore. It was like God changed him.
Wow.
And so he went right. He went and he took, and he would be sick from that surgery, and he would take care of my grandsons, Jeremiah and Jamir. He would watch them all day long. And he would be like telling my daughter, oh my God, he would be like, this was my pleasure.
Wow. He was a totally different person when he wasn't on drugs, huh?
A totally different person. He was like a complete family man. You know, he didn't run the streets. But when he was on that crack, he was like the devil in the flesh. It was like two completely different people. And what made me happy was that she never got to know that real him until that final month. And she got to experience the real him that cooked, the real him that was affectionate, you know, the real him that was funny, and the real him that helped her out, you know.
Wow.
Yeah. So that's the one blessing that came out of all of that misery.
So what would you tell the queen watching that stuck in the situation? What would you tell her or him?
I would say you can't let your past define your future. A lot of people with low self-esteem get stuck in these abusive relationships, and it's either because they've seen it growing up, or it's some reason and they just get stuck. You have to face the past, face those demons, face that childhood, face what happened to you. If you were raped, if you were molested, whatever happened, you have to face it, expose it, and you have to get healing so that you will not become subject to an abuser, because that is no way to live. I mean, I had so many dreams, you know, and he was supposed to help me with these dreams. I wanted to open a hair salon. And he was like, yeah, we're going to do this. We're going to do this. The thing is that when you waste your years with an abuser, you will not ever be able to accomplish the things that you want to accomplish. When I was with him all those years, all I could do was survive, all beat up, covered in bruises, late for work all the time, sad, depressed, couldn't even think straight. Then once I got away from him, I was able to write this book. I was able to produce this skin line. I produced fashion shows at my job. And I even got to meet like over a dozen celebrities. And none of that would have happened if I stayed with that abuser.
Wow.
And that's my message. There's life after being with an abusive person, but you're never going to know that if you just keep staying, feeling like this is what you have to take, because that is not what you have to take. That is not the life that God designed for you.
Yeah.
And I wasted all those years that I'm never going to get back. Every time the longer you stay with that abuser, the clock is ticking. You're not going to get those years back. You're not going to get that time back. So you need to run for your life like I did with my 2 kids. I ran for my life and I didn't look back. I was like, I'm done. I knew once I made that choice to leave, I was never going back. And I never went back, because I felt like if I have to go through this drastic measure to uproot my kids, go into a shelter, it's done. And women have to and men too, because men are abused as well.
Yeah.
They have to get to a point where they're like, I refuse to be abused.
Come on. Come
And
on.
that's where I'm at now. And it's still a journey. I'm still working on me. Because, you know, you have those scars that people
Yeah.
don't see, those
Yeah.
wounds, you know?
Yeah. Yeah. And you got
So, like, you know, your show is about self, and
yeah.
that's what we need to work on. That's the key.
Yeah.
I had to face that, okay, yeah, my mom doesn't love me, but I don't have to search for it in a man. I could
Yeah.
love myself until God sends the right man.
Yeah. That's right. So you have a book on
Yeah.
Amazon called The Fight for My Life. Is that telling a story that you just told us?
What it tells is how I felt growing up. I felt intensely ugly on the inside. It tells a story of how I was just numb and empty from not getting my mom's love.
Mm.
Then it talks a little bit about my addiction,
Mm.
and it talks about my daughter's father, how he was like the prince of darkness when he was on that crack.
Yeah.
And then most of the book is about a plan to take back your life, because then I battled 38 illnesses after I got away from the domestic violence. I mean, I had like brain disease, I was going blind, I had neuralgia, which is a painful nerve disorder. This side of my face had completely collapsed. I had parasites.
Wow.
I had myofascial pain syndrome. I mean, it just was one thing after another, after another, after another. And so what God did was he led me to naturopathic doctors and holistic medicine. And they helped me. So what I do in the book is I talk about the deadly sins of eating the wrong foods. I talk about how exercise is vital to being healthy and aging better. And I talk about things to eat and how to really, like, basically how to take back your health. Because anybody who's been abused, their health is low because their immune system is always under that duress, that stress.
Yeah.
So you have to eat right. You have to exercise. Like you said, the sun, that was so beautiful. You said we're a flower. We need the sun and the water. We need that vitamin D every day. Like we need to drink water. We got to stop drinking all these sodas, you know? And so that's what I talk about in the book. What I learned, the natural way to eat as opposed to the way we eat.
Yeah. So
And that's what it's about. Huh?
I was telling me to get your book. It's on Amazon, The Fight for My Life. Excuse me.
It has been a fight.
Yeah, but you still here doing ministry and sharing your story. So I just want to thank you for sharing your story. It was beautiful. I'm glad you made it out.
Amen.
Because everybody don't make it out.
No, they don't. They really don't. They really don't. And
I know.
Yeah. God is good. And you know what God said to me when I asked him one day? I said, God, why did you allow me to go through this abuse? I said, I don't understand it. Like, I was in the church. I don't understand why I went through this. And you know what he said to me, clear as day? I heard it. He said, because I want you to be the voice of domestic violence. Wow. He said, because nobody is really listening or really talking about it. He said, you have to be the one to tell them your story so people can get out of it.
Yeah.
And I was just like, wow. And I understood then.
Yeah. And I pray that somebody's heart was touched on tonight. Somebody's life was changed on tonight or after when they come back and see this.
Amen.
So God bless you. And I just want to thank you once again for sharing.
Thank you, Miss Shei. You're a beautiful person. Thank you.
Thank you, Waltrell. Thank you, Dray Tate. That was so beautiful. Everything was amazing in spite of the little blackout we had.
Amen. But, you know that devil mad?
Yeah, he mad. But God got us and we made it through. So thank y'all to everybody who tuned in tonight. God bless you. Share it with somebody who needs to hear it. And shout out to Arlene, Samuel, D. Butler, Venus Love, AJ, Leslie, Tanisha, thank y'all. Tamika, Who else? LM and D Robertson, D Milburn. Thank y'all so much. That's who comments I can see right here. Thank y'all for tuning in, and until next time, God bless y'all.
Amen.
God
God
bless
bless
you.
you, Shay.
God bless you. I'll holler at y'all later. God bless you.
Bye.
Bye.